You're listening to Maneuvering Mondays, a podcast about transforming work culture.
Hello and welcome back to Maneuvering Monday.
Woo!
And your hosts today are AK
And
and
Ivanna Rosendal.
Yes, exactly. And this episode will just be a bit of an update from the two of us, and then we're going to introduce our new podcast format, maybe formats in plural, and talk a bit about what happened since last year, and answer some of the questions that we get a lot. So this episode is a bit different from what we usually do, but I hope it will be nice, and I'm really excited to be talking to you, Ivanna.
I am so happy to see you. What the audience may not know is that right now we don't actually get to see each other that much, only when
That is
we
true.
connect about Maneuvering Monday stuff.
That is
And
very
why
true.
is that, AK?
What a beautiful setup. Yes, because I think what we would like to start with now is to talk a bit about what happened since we came out with the last episode of the podcast. And the reason that we don't see each other a lot right now is because I'm on maternity leave. I had another baby. So that's a huge thing that happened in my life since last year. And I also actually moved into a new house. So I'm here with my new baby and my new house, and it's been pretty intense. What about you, Joanna?
Well, first of all, I would just like to say it's a very, very nice baby and a very, very nice house.
Thank you.
So both are extreme improvements to the world.
That is true.
And at some point, I'm very much looking forward to using your sauna when that is
Oh,
up
yes.
and running.
Yes, me too. Any day now.
Well, in my life, it's been a year almost since we've released the last episode. So a lot of things have happened. Last year around this time, I had just moved back to Copenhagen from California. And I've recently moved apartments again. So I've also recently moved. A little bit less work than a whole house. And also I have just some months ago gotten engaged.
Yay! This is
So
this is an episode where we're breaking all the personal stuff.
all the personal stuff happening while book writing is also happening.
Yes, but that is so great. And it's been so nice to also meet your partner, and congratulations, Ivana.
Thank you. Yeah, and like the very adorable thing is that our partners actually like each other too, which is
That is true.
very nice.
Yes, that is very, very nice. And they also both attended the book launch, which we will get back to a bit
Yes.
later in the episode. Because another really important thing that happened in both of our lives since we came out with the last episode of the podcast is that we have published a book, and
We
it's
have.
live. Yes, it's in the bookstores, or at least the digital bookstores for now. And that included also some pretty intense writing and finishing and editing and recording and a lot of things. And I think didn't we submit the manuscript in January? So it was like the beginning of this year.
You're right. Yeah.
Last we had the manuscript appraisal done first, and then we
Yes.
submitted it in January. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've launched the book. We've gone through the whole process of actually editing and getting it ready, picking out a cover, figuring out so many tiny details that I had never thought about that we need to consider. Book fonts, artwork for the front, what kind of punctuation we believe in, all sorts of
Yes,
stuff.
but I think just
Now
to
it's out
say
there.
we had to, yeah, and we basically had to rewrite the entire book because we had to
Yes.
cut it into half. So it was a lot of work in kind of, because we ended up with this I wouldn't call it a Frankenstein, but it was kind of a mix of a lot of different storylines and characters and all these, because we based it on the podcast with all the wonderful conversations we had with our guest speakers.
Yeah.
And that led to a lot of different, I would say, like corners of each character's life. And we had to cut a lot of that because our publisher basically said it's way too long. There's too many
Yeah.
characters in your gallery, and also I think it's just been sharpening like also the language, all the dialogue, everything. It was a lot of work. I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I feel like it was almost
Yeah.
harder than writing it. It was to like cut it down.
I would say it's harder than writing it because
Yeah.
writing, like, it's just anything can happen. When you're editing, suddenly you have to make it good,
Mm.
and there's like there's a structure, there's a beat to
Mm.
storytelling, and then
Yeah.
suddenly like all the ideas that were originally there, they have to be condensed down into that beat. So I think I have become a better writer having gone through the editing process because I understand now like what is important for people to be able to understand the story and what is essentially like writing crutches for myself when I write a story. That has been brutal because like yeah, almost half of the book disappeared
Yeah.
through the editing process. I have never cursed so much in my life as
No.
I did during spring when I was trying to cut all of this stuff out.
Yeah.
And there's some moments that I really love that are lost now, like beautiful moments where the
Mhm.
characters would connect, but that weren't essential to the story, or funny moments where again the editor was like, "Yes, I see you're trying, you're displaying some humor here, but is it essential?" And all of that is just gone now, and it's a better book for it.
Absolutely. But it was, I will say, spring or around the time when we had to turn in the final manuscript. I think that's the time in our entire period of doing this that we were under the most pressure, and especially you because you have been
Yes,
the writer of the entire book, and you had to come up with a new ending, and it was like we
yes,
have to turn it in a week, and you just need to find out how you want to like tie all of this up and end all of the characters' stories. And we also got the feedback that it couldn't be too like happy ending-ish. We also had to have some
yeah,
more reality in it. And I think this is the only time in our entire collaboration where we worked under a, a lot of pressure in
yes.
a very intense way. and
Usually,
yeah,
yeah, usually our mantra for collaboration is, well, it has to be fun. We give freely.
yes,
Like we contribute when we can. But
mm,
when we had to submit the book, well, there was no longer really a choice. It was just, well, now we have to get this done,
exactly.
fun or
And I feel
not.
like we had to tell each other like right now it's actually not that fun, but we just need to get it. Like we have to get it done now,
Yeah.
and it was good that we did it. And I think you did an amazing job in actually coming up with an ending that didn't feel like it was written really fast. I feel like it's a very good ending. I'm very happy with the way
Hmm.
the story wraps up. So well done.
Thank you. And also for everyone who listened to Marie's story in the podcast, I can now reveal that the book itself is actually quite different,
It
and
is,
it ends in a different way than it did in the podcast.
yeah. And that's I think that's one of the hard truth we got from the publisher was that they just didn't like the ending and then also kill off like half of your Persian gallery. So yeah, that was tough.
I miss them. That they are.
Oh my
It's
God,
sad
yeah,
that they're gone.
sure. But
Yeah.
yes, I think that, and then after that, we then had all of the marketing coming, which was also quite a
Yes.
lot of work, and we had the audiobook that we had to do. And at this
Yes.
point in time, I was like pretty pregnant. Um, it was starting to be very heavy. I was very tired, and at some point, I had to say to Ivana, "Listen, I think we should still go with our timeline, but I have to have some downtime around the birth because
Yeah.
I was going crazy because of it was so heavy. I think I had been more optimistic about being able to do it all at the same time. But so what we did was we actually kind of split responsibility. So Ivana took all
Yeah.
of the PR and marketing and all the social media presence, and I was allowed a free pass to kind of not do that. Ivana got full power of doing whatever. Um, and then I focused on doing the audiobook because that was something I
Which
could do
is
a bit more in
also
time.
a huge endeavor.
Yeah, that was
Recording the audiobook. Yeah.
it's one of those things where I was like, I kind of thought, of course I can do that. How hard? I knew it was going to be hard, but I had no idea. So I thought
Yeah.
like, how hard can it be? I can try. And then yeah, I had some coaching, and it was very hard because you have to read for many hours. You have to have the same like intensity and energy throughout the whole recording. I was really pregnant and out of breath, and you can sometimes, I think you can even hear that a little bit in the audiobook, because when the sentences were long, I was sometimes kind of struggling to actually finish them without losing my breath. And it is, I'm not a professional speaker, so it's not a perfect audiobook. But I'm still happy that I did it. I think it was worth it, even though
Yes.
it was tough. And you can hear you could just, when you listen to it, just remember that I was actually carrying another human being while I did that. So if I sound out of breath, it's because I
Yeah.
was making organs.
Yes, you're making organs while learning a new skill, which, like
Yes,
reading an audiobook is a separate skill. It is not just something one does one Friday afternoon. It actually
exactly.
takes a lot of training, and I have the utmost respect for voice actors, especially
Me too.
after you went through that whole ordeal and got into both the tools, but also like the techniques of speaking something audibly so people understand
Yeah.
what it is that we're reading.
And also, I will admit that English, everyone who listens to this knows that English is not my first language. And I did have some issues because I think a lot of the words, I have read them a million times when we did the editing. So of course I thought I knew how to say everything, but then when I had to read it, it was just so many words that I didn't know how to say, and I had to have my little Google person, all the time telling me this is how you say this word. And then at some point there's even an Italian sentence. um, so no, but it was so much fun. And
Yes, very excited about sharing that because I have also learned how popular the audiobook format is. About half the people that I speak to have asked me, well, when is it coming out as an audiobook? Then I'll listen to it.
do you want to share a bit about the marketing and PR campaign that you've been
Yes,
doing and the social media presence?
absolutely. So we have been quite lucky to get to work with a book PR agency. They have helped us both create a strategy for how to position our book in the market, but also which individual pieces we should contribute. So before the book launch, we focused a lot on creating excitement for the launch itself, because on Amazon, which is the key place to distribute books today, it's important that you hit certain parameters to get a good placement and people can actually find your book.
Mm.
So working towards hitting those targets was it took more effort than I perhaps anticipated, because when, for example, in Amazon is quite distributed geographically. So if you want your book to be easy to find in a certain geography, you need to ensure that people have downloaded it in that geography. Otherwise, Amazon won't even bother pushing it out in
Mm.
France, for example.
Yeah.
So the marketing effort involved also getting in touch with people that we know all over the world and having them help us kind of activate the book in their markets. Reviews also matter a lot. So it has been an exercise in finding people who can help us spread the word that now the book is there, but within their local market.
Yeah.
And just also making sure that everyone are aware that our book launch was being scheduled and that they could join. And boy, did people join.
Maybe we should talk about the book launch now, since it feels like a natural place.
Yes.
And this was also all you, Ivanna, planning out everything, and me being at home with a newborn, trying to kind of survive those first weeks while you were making deals with all these caterers and went out to find a good spot for it, and I was kind of following along on WhatsApp.
Yeah, and, and luckily, you basically yes-anded all of my crazy ideas for what we should do for this event.
Mm.
Um, so that has been nice. Originally, we had actually planned to have this event in a venue downtown, but then two things happened. One was that the venue that I had booked was like we had intended that the event would be from 4 p.m. until like 10 p.m. The venue was booked between 5 and 7. So like in between our thing, there would be another thing, which was inconvenient to say the least.
Yes.
So that happened. And also our guest list actually ended up exceeding the first venue's capacity. So we had to find
Mm.
a bigger venue, which is a positive problem to have. And I was a little bit uh, frustrated by this because, oh no, now it's even more last minute. I mean, to find an alternative venue. Luckily, there is this bar in Copenhagen Northwest that I would really like, and I feel a lot of affinity to. Partially because this is the bar where my fiance proposed to me. And
Good.
we asked them if they also host events, and they did.
Was it actually on the day he proposed that you asked them?
It was not on the day he proposed. It was like 2 days later.
Oh, that is such it's so sweet. That's the place. It's a cool place. You should if you live in Copenhagen, you should check it out. It's called Gamma NV.
Yes,
Or if you visit
and they brew
Copenhagen.
their own beer.
Yes, and it was kind of I really liked the vibe. I one of my good friends who joined the book launch is a photographer, and he took some photos of us in there, and he then texted me. It looks a bit like you're having your launch party in a spaceship because it's very like futuristic, at least in those pictures. But it was a good spot that you found, and you had really nice catering that matched with the content of the book, which was
Yeah,
fun.
but
A
it was
fun thing.
funny because yeah, we had it was a book launch party more than it was apparently a regular book launch. A couple of guests commented, "This is not what a book launch looks like," because there was no like book reading. It was essentially a party where we celebrated the launch of our book, where you could do different activities and also get your copy of the book, have a lot of snacks, hang out, drink some mead, and bring your failures to the table. And for me, it's
Hmm.
always interesting. Well, what would we have done differently if we were to replan a book launch today? And I
Yeah.
think like one of my reflections was we chose to serve cinnamon buns with the champagne because cinnamon buns are such a trope of the book. They show up in many different chapters. But for
Hmm.
people who came to our book launch, they had not yet read the book. So for them, it was a little bit strange to be having cinnamon buns at 4 in the afternoon. And a lot of
With
people were like,
champagne.
what is happening here?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
true. Yeah. Yeah, and I
Not that I
think
would have
for
done that
me,
differently.
no, I think it was fun, and I liked that it was a gimmick, and some people got it and some people didn't, and then they still had a nice, tasty cinnamon bun, which was
Yeah.
also delicious. But no, I was gonna say that I think what I would have done differently is that I would actually have invited much more people. I think I was a little bit in doubt of who to include in such an event. It's my first book
Mm,
launch. I've never done that before, and I felt like, is it weird to kind of reach out to former colleagues? How big should the circle be that I kind of include
mm.
in this? And I did invite some selected people, but I feel like I could have basically just gone all out and invited basically everyone that I worked with. Uh, of course, maybe in my closest teams, because it was just so much fun and it was so nice to see people. And the people that I did invite that came from my previous jobs, it was just so nice to see them again. And they had fun and they saw each other. And I feel like we could easily have been more people
Yeah. And
because
the
it was
venue
just
could have hosted more people too.
exactly,
It was a big
exactly.
place.
And I think I was just holding back also because I thought like, oh, is this a bit weird? And is it weird to reach out to people that I haven't talked to in a long time? But now I'm just like, next time I'll do it because it was not random. It was actually so nice and people appreciate the invite. So I would do that
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah. And generally, the feedback from participants has been that they had a really good time.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and yeah, thank you so much to everyone who came.
Yes. We
Um,
really felt supported. what about the book itself? One of the questions that people ask me the most when I meet people in my daily life is, how are the book sales going?
Oh, good
And
question. I would like to know that too. Actually, this is a good point. I also wanted to touch upon this in this episode. Um, so we don't know, and as far as we understand, we're going to get like a status on this 2 times a year, and I think the first one is going to come around Christmas time this year, because we don't really have insights into the sales on the different platforms. Um, so we actually have no idea. We know how many copies we have sold.
75, I believe, but yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, better than I thought. But I think that also speaks a little bit to our stance in this whole question is that we're not doing this for the money. I can tell you that
No.
now and once and for all, we are not getting rich from this.
So for anyone considering writing a book for making money, maybe you can make some money off your third book if you write 2 previously very good books, but this is not really what it is about for us.
No, it's not. And just to be very transparent, the publisher we're working with is a paid publisher. So we paid them a fee to kind of help us with all of these things. We also paid for
Yes.
the PR team. We're paying to get the audiobook published. And that's okay
Yes.
because we're also paying for the learnings. And I kind of see it
Yes.
as an education. And
Yes.
that's worth everything, I think.
And education will, like, there's no way we would have learned these things any other way than by actually doing them.
Exactly.
All of
And
these
it's
learnings are ours now.
exactly. And if we ever were to self-publish, I think this was also just our chance to kind of look at what parts could we potentially do ourselves and what parts would we still
Right.
want to pay for next time. So I would definitely just to say it's not shameful to to not be signed with a paying publisher. I think that's very normal, especially the first
Yes.
time. I can also say that when we did look for publishing houses in the beginning, a lot of publishers have a requirement that you have to have a book published already to even work with them.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like trying to get into the job market without experience, and people are looking for people with experience. Like you have to have the experience to get the job and get experience. So yeah, we this was how we did it this time, and that's been great for us.
Yes. And we have what we may not know how much how many books we have sold. We do know how the book is doing generally, like feedback wise and ranking wise.
Mhm.
One of the things we achieved on the day of our launch is becoming an Amazon bestseller, which is a title given to books within the first 4 days of the launch if they make top 4 in
Mm.
a specific category in a specific geography.
Yes,
Whew.
yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yes,
and we did manage to make to the top 10 in 2 different categories, so yay.
yes.
We made number 4 in human resources and personnel category,
Mm.
and number 4 in, what was it, personnel management?
Yes. And then we also actually we were number 10 in Germany in hot new releases in organizational behavior, which I also feel like is
Ooh.
super cool. Thank you to our German
Cheers. Yeah.
supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also got a few more, Ivana. We got number 4 new releases in business motivation and self-improvement in the US, number
Ooh.
8 in the US in new releases in organizational behavior, and number 5 in human resources and personal management, number 5 in workplace behavior. So that's, I think, very, very
That's pretty
nice. Thank you
badass.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Right
buying
now
our
we
book.
have right now we have 5 stars, but we also only have 2 reviews. But thank you to our 2 very kind reviewers, and we're hoping more reviews will come. I think that a lot of people have been waiting for the audiobook,
Mhm.
also. So I hope that we will get a bit more feedback as that launches.
And also, we have received reviews in person by people who either know us, know of us, or a couple of people who have just written randomly, like, "Hey, I read your book. This is what I think of it,"
Mhm.
which, in my mind, is like quite a commitment to providing a review instead of just writing it on Amazon. email it
Mm.
directly to the author. I might
Yeah,
start doing this too. This is actually a cool idea.
it's very cool,
And
and I yeah, I really
so far it's
appreciate
been
people.
very positive. Yeah.
It's been super positive, and also I don't know if it's me reading stuff into this, but I feel like sometimes people sound a bit surprised, so they text me like, "This was like actually really good," and I'm like, "Yes, thank you for that." But I feel like some people might get surprised because it is a work fiction book. Like
Yes.
the genre is work dramedy, I think we called it. And I think that some people, like for instance, people from my family who are not maybe working in a corporate context, but are reading it because they love me and want to support me, which I really appreciate. I think they find themselves actually surprised that they also recognize a lot of the things from the book, and it actually speaks to them, even though they're not maybe the target audience.
Yeah.
And that made me really happy.
Yeah. And also, I think several people have told me, wow, this is actually a good novel.
Mm.
Or some variation of, this is not the worst novel that I have read. Uh,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And also, if people have, negative feedback, please share it as well. Then we can learn from that. So,
yeah.
so
I
that's
think
how
one of the
that is.
important differences to highlight is that it's a work fiction. It is not a business fable.
Oh yeah,
A
do you want
a
to
business,
elaborate on that difference?
yeah, because a business fable has a specific point. It is a way to sell a model, and the story illustrates the different steps in the model. Maneuvering Monday is work fiction, meaning that it's a novel, that there is no model. It is not promoting a specific way of working. It is not, there is no point, there is no
Mm.
conclusion, there is no answer.
Mm.
But maybe AK, you could talk to why did we write this book? What did we want to achieve with it in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that actually we did start writing this book from kind of a similar starting point as what you just talked about, because we're both working as leaders in organizations, and I think that we had we were missing more literature that didn't um, pretend to have the truth, or like the model that would fix all your problems, because I feel like every time or when we read these business books, we were left with a feeling that when you go back to work and you have to do what it says, it's just never as simple as it is in the book. And that's not to say that it's not useful, because you can still, of course, use what you can, but we were missing some realistic uh, scenarios that people could kind of use as a reflection of their own work, and maybe recognize some of these dynamics and challenges, and get some inspiration for how to maneuver. And that's how we came up with the idea of, let's try to do this project where we do a podcast and and write a story bit by bit and invite brilliant experts in and talk about a topic, and then we can kind of co-create the story. And that was for me like that idea of writing a book like this was super interesting. So I think a good answer is we did it because we felt like there was something missing, but also because we are just both nerdy and we love to discuss this, and we love to meet people who have perspectives about this, and it's just something fun that we like to do in our free time. What would you say?
I would agree. For me, starting the conversation about how to maneuver work life is important. And this is what the book does best, is kind of provide people with a platform to start talking about their work lives and how they
Hmm.
can make them better.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
the most important piece. And also, I continue to be interested in fostering those conversations,
Hmm.
because life is too short to be miserable at work. And a lot of people are miserable in their jobs and feel trapped and feel that the dysfunction is eroding at them as a person. And
Yeah,
that is just too bad.
I agree.
We cannot have that.
And I think if also we got a question about, or we get a question a lot about, like, who is this book for? Like,
Yeah.
who can read this? And I think that it's basically for anyone with an interest in the dynamics in a workplace. So our typical readers might be like consultants, maybe leaders, middle managers, executives in a corporate setting. But I think that, to my point before, it can speak to many different kind of arenas, and I can say that, for instance, the leader of my child's kindergarten asked if she could purchase a copy, and I think that's just a great example of like a really great leader, but in a non-corporate
Yeah,
setting. But she's definitely still a leader and working with leadership in
yeah.
many different ways. So that was just a good example.
One of my friends said that his wife read it uh, while on vacation with her girlfriends, and that she works as a teacher, and she loved it. She said that it was very relevant for her.
Mm.
And she didn't have like a serious purpose for it. He kind of just suggested it because she was leaving on vacation, wanted a book, and he was like, "Look what I just purchased."
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so that makes me really happy. Then another question we get, Ivana, is how have we managed to do this on top of our life as mothers?
Yeah, this has been surprising to me how often I get this question. Uh, of course, being a mother is a lot, that is a lot of responsibility and a huge time commitment. But still, like, wow, that is. But people are really interested in understanding how two mothers can write a book on top of doing their day jobs. Also,
Yeah,
uh, so
I
so
wonder
they
if we
like.
would get that. Do you think we would get that question if we had been men?
I really don't think we would get that question. I don't even think people would consider that. Uh, But at the other hand side, like I do think it deserves an answer. Like, so how did we do it?
Yeah,
And hopefully that kind of inspires people to also do the thing that they want to do, with whatever that may be. Uh,
yeah.
go to the gym more, or I don't know, start a darts club.
Yes, I also want to do that, by the way. Um, I think for me, it's about, of course, having the support from your household. So, like,
Yes, yeah,
our partners have been a huge help in like making
absolutely.
sure that we could do this, and uh, yes, and take the time away from the kids, so to speak, to do this. Also, our flexibility with each other and the expectations alignment that we have kids, and if I have to breastfeed in the middle of something, I have to do that. If you have to leave to pick up your kids, that's what you do, and that's not just for the kids. That's of course everything in our life.
Yeah,
Also our day job, which is of course uh, a bigger priority than this project.
yes. Also, what I say is used to people is that it took us 4 years to
Yes.
write and publish a book. So
Mhm.
it wasn't like a 6 month focused effort. It took a long time. And for periods of that time, not much was happening. And then other periods, we have been extremely productive.
Mhm.
And just allowing that it may take time and that's okay has been extremely helpful in actually getting to the finish line.
I agree, and I think that knowing you, I could imagine you would maybe say, if someone asked us what would you have done differently, that you would say you would have liked us to be faster. But
Yes.
I think actually that I think it had to be slow, and I think sometimes great things take a long time, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Um, but I know that I know that I know you've been a little bit impatient sometimes because you have new ideas because you're the creative director of this company.
Yes. And that is the next book is really like pushing itself, infringing on my mental space, trying to make its
Exactly.
way through. And I'm not allowed to start writing it until at least we're done publishing the audiobook.
Yes, exactly. So counting the days now. And that's also answering the question of, is there a new book coming? That's the plan.
Yes, that is the
Yes,
plan.
that is the plan.
And we have ideas. And because one of the things that I appreciate the most about how we wrote Maneuvering Monday is both, well, AK collaboration with you. That is one of the reasons why this book actually happened. It's because you and I are, we're a partnership.
Mm.
But then the other thing is writing the book openly, inviting people in, having perspectives, gathering inspiration from real people in real jobs. That is how I imagine the next book is also going to be written. It's also going to
Yes.
be written as a podcast with people coming in and telling us their actual stories and with different
Yeah,
perspectives.
I totally agree. That's been so giving, such a great format. And I would love to talk more about that, but we don't have time. So what we have to talk about now before we wrap up is what will happen to this podcast.
Yes.
And we do have a plan. This is why we're doing this episode now, because we are coming out with a new format. We're not starting a new book right now. We're going to focus a bit more on Marie's story. And the
Yes.
way we're going to do that is that, Ivanna, you came up with this brilliant idea of a book swap format. Do you want
Yes.
to talk about what that is?
Absolutely. So essentially, it's an extension of the way the format has been so far, where we bring in an expert to talk about Marie's story. But this time around, we invite in authors of business books or professional books. And then we apply the concepts of their books on Maneuvering Monday. So we read the author's book, they read Maneuvering Monday, and then we have a pretty in-depth conversation about how those two things interrelate. So Marie gets some very professional advice from other authors on how to maneuver. And then we also exchange notes about the publishing process. And so far, it's been a blast. It's been so much fun to talk to other authors.
It's a refreshing format, and I think what you would get out of it as a listener is that you actually get a lot of tools from these people we talk to. And it's fun because we can talk about these tools in a very practical context. So it's not just, I have this 5-step model, which is what our problem was with business literature in the first place. It's more like, how would we actually do in this situation using your model or using these
Yeah.
thoughts? And they have great answers for that. So it's I think that's a beautiful match of two things.
Yes. And I'm very excited to see what else we're going to learn about our own fictional work through the eyes of these different authors.
Absolutely. So that will be the format of what you're going to hear next. That will be us talking to different people who also published books. Then we also have an kind of a special edition format in the works. It's something we're still kind of we're developing it, but we've been thinking about it for a long time to do like specific episodes where we focus on one theme of the book. So, for instance,
Mhm.
we focus on leadership, or we focus on organizational transformation or design of organizations, and all of these really awesome topics that we already have in the book, and then invite someone in who's just like the expert on that topic and talk about it with them and get their knowledge. I think that could also be super cool.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so that's what you can expect for the podcast. It will not die. It will have a second coming.
Yes. Yeah, and a more exciting one.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so I think that's where we should end this episode with a hook. So people hopefully will tune in again when we launch the first book swap episode.
Yes. Very excited for you to listen to the next episode. And thank you for hanging out with us while we talk about the year that has passed.
Yes, and as always, please join the conversation on LinkedIn. You can find us in there on Manuring Monday.
Yes. Tell your friends.
Ivana, it was so nice to catch up with you, and I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye, AK.